This little girl used to think that the world was a magic, her life was a long party that never ended, and she is Davina, the main character of our story. Her parents gave her everything and she never asked where it came from. Davina loved her parents and adored them so much. She couldn't really see who they were, until the time was too late. Their house has been burnt and she didn't know that her parents had an enemy, or maybe someone else's enemy. Her father told Miss Bremerton, her own nanny, to get out together with Davina. Miss Bremerton ran out to save Davina. In either way, there was a reckoning. And Davina got left behind and Miss Bremerton offered her to come. She was crying about what happened to her parents. Her nanny said to her that she must be strong, stronger than they were, and her nanny said to her that she was strong in order to protect the children under her care, and she can teach her how to protect other children too. And Davina was strongly said to show her how to be strong like her nanny and save other children like her. After a long 8 years she spent it in Elite Nanny Academy, or ENA, building her strength, and Mrs. Bremerton took her and raised her in and become an elite nanny on her own, and Miss Bremerton now was the headmistress of the ENA. And she is finally ready for her first assignment. The headmistress was having a proposal to Mr. Angelini, the client. Mr. Angelini said that he requires exclusivity, someone who has never worked with anyone else. The headmistress showed to Mr. Angelini their most recent graduates that are all awaiting their first assignment. Mr. Angelini was asking if all of the recent graduates were qualified, and Mrs. Bremerton answered that their graduates have mastered the core pillars of the ENA program: early childhood development and psychology, first aid, defensive combat, advanced driving, physical and cyber security, household management and financial planning. Then suddenly she asked Mr. Angelini why he was seeking an elite nanny. Miss Bremerton didn't think that Mr. Angelini had a son, a very annoying son and a bossed son who is always arguing with his one father at the age of 4. For an unusual reason. The mother of the child isn't in the picture and his company doesn't provide childcare. Mrs. Bremerton told him that his son will be in good hands. While Mr. Angelini was finding an elite nanny, he saw the record of Davina, which was a cybersecurity and operations, and he chooses Davina as a nanny to his son. Miss Bremerton doesn't want Davina to be picked and showing another nanny to Mr. Angelini, but the man wanted Davina to be the nanny to his son. Davina was so excited about her first assignment. They were talking with the mistress and said to Davina that she would not have chosen it for her, but she was selected by the client. Davina was asking who it was, and the headmistress said to her that it was Gabriel Angelini, and Davina was shocked because it was the enemy of her parents, burnt her home, and it was the Angelini mafia. Mrs. Bremerton told Davina to refuse it, but Davina didn't want to because it was her first assignment. She thought that she would never get the answers, but now, she has a chance, and if she learned the truth of what happened that day, all would be better. The man asked the headmistress if the nanny signed the contract, and Miss Bremerton said that she was. The headmistress introduces Davina to Gabriel Angelini as her primary client. They introduce themselves to each other, looking forward to each other. The man said to Davina to join in the car when she is ready. Davina and Mrs. Bremerton talked about the orders as an ENA nanny. Davina said to protect and care for the charge, obey the primary client, anticipate the family's needs. And the headmistress told Davina to not reveal their secrets, don't embarrass them, no shirking, no sabotage, and also no romance. Davina understood it all and said to her nanny that she will be proud at the end of the day. Davina met the Mr. Angelini's driver Adam, and gave her a word of advice because the child was only 4. Then she met the son of Mr. Angelini and his name was Mikey. The child said to his father that he didn't trust his new nanny, and it smells like oranges. Davina asked Mikey where they were going and the child answered that they will be going to the big ugly mansion in a city of peasants. Mr. Angelini said that they were relocated from Venice to Lyon in France. Davina was shocked because it was a really long way. And the man said that the car has Wi-Fi if the nanny needs it. When she opened her laptop, the Wi-Fi was unsecured, and suddenly the door of the car got locked. And Mr. Angelini said that they don't drive with the doors unlocked, because it's not safe. Davina told him that if there is an accident, it's safer to have them unlocked. Davina was guessing that the man was truly smart and he lectured her about safety. While she was busy doing something, the man and Mr. Angelini were talking, and after a minute they arrived in the Angelini annex. As Davina expected, the place had no visible security, even cameras. Mr. Angelini told Davina that her room was upstairs, second floor to the left, and he explained to his son that from now on he will be in Davina, and starting today he will go to Davina for everything he would do. But Mikey doesn't want to, and thinking that his father was trying to ice him out, and also thinking that he can't handle the business. Mikey was shouting to his father and said that he should never have involved his father and needed him, then ran outside. Mr. Angelini told Davina that his son had a hard time without his own mother and keeping him too close to him as a father. Davina was asking Mr. Angelini if his son knows what he does, because she read a news article about Angelini's. Mr. Angelini said that simplifies things, and he will be honest then, he is that underboss of the Angelini mafia, and his son was number 2. He has more enemies than he can count, and they would do anything to get their hands on his only son, heir to the Angelini name. And that's how Davina came in as an elite nanny. And she understands, she will protect him with everything she has. She was asking what other duties she will have and said that she can manage his private network, his schedule, and balance accounts. Mr. Angelini said that it was not necessary, her duty was only for Mikey. Davina said that she respectfully keeping the child safe requires more than just child care. He comes near Davina and whispers that it is clear that her only duty is not to let his son out of her sight. And speaking of Mikey was not in her sight, she ran outside and looked for Mikey, then suddenly she heard it shouting for help. Mikey was kidnapped by the masked persons. She tried to stop the van, but she was late and the van got driven away to the annex mansion. On her first day she was in trouble already, she was panting and dashing to go after them. She got her bag and rode with Adam to the car and said to Mr. Angelini that she would find Mikey and told to call the police for the meantime. But Mr. Angelini said that if she would do her job he wouldn't have to call the police. She was finding the place where Mikey was and ordering Adam everything to get there, while she was tracing the license plate number of the van that the most recent hit was 1 minute ago. The van wasn't too far from the place and almost too easy, and guessing that it might be a trap. She was hacking into the closest cell towers. She wanted to see how many IMSI pings were from that building, and she would pretend to know what that meant, and 3 phones were in the building. They arrived at the place and told Adam to pull around to the front of the building and wait for her there. She saw in front of the door a personal security type, a professional, and no gun, which was unusual. She warned the big guy. She said that she was well trained and ordered the big guy to open the door. But the guy didn't listen to her. She had no choice but to attack the guy and got slumped into the floor. She was now inside and found Mikey that was tied up with 2 people. The 2 were shocked and actively fought Davina, and the 2 of them were smashed out by Davina's ability. And she ran out in the building together with Mikey, and she was asking Mikey if it was alright and did they scare him. She hugged the child and said that everything was okay now and nothing to worry about because he was safe. But suddenly Adam targeted her with a gun and said to walk away, get out to the car and leave the kid, and also she can take the 2 million in the case. Davina was asking Adam if he was with the kidnappers, and Adam said that it was a test to see if she was a real deal. But it was too good an opportunity to miss. And his boss never lets the kid out of his sight until today. Mikey was looking at him and said to his mind that Adam will pay for it, and Adam said to her that if she was smart then do the smart thing. Davina slowly slid her hands and tried to reach the laptop, and suddenly clicked something to activate the wipers of the car so that Adam will be distracted, and Davina clicks again the laptop to drove the car by itself, and the gun of Adam has thrown away and slammed the door, and they skip out and ran away. They were almost home and saw the car in front of the mansion. And Mr. Angelini said that it was done and she passed. Mikey said that Davina was good, fast and scary, and even hugged him. Mr. Angelini asked Davina if she would prefer he was taken unaware and traumatized. And Davina said to Mr. Angelini that she prefers didn't question her abilities in the first place. He said that he didn't doubt Davina's training, he just had to know she couldn't be bought, or scared off, because he didn't trust anything or anyone. Davina was asking why, and the man answered that if she pulls the police reports, they'll tell her that his wife has been missing for a year. But what they don't include is that his wife was murdered. When Mikey heard it, he felt bad and lonely. They knew that it was not the right place to talk to, so Gabriel told Mikey to go upstairs. Mikey said that he was fine, and Davina was thinking of a trick to make the mind of Mikey escape from thinking about what he heard lately. Davina was tricking Mikey of wondering where his bedroom was. While they were arguing with each other, suddenly Mikey was getting angry and pulled Davina inside the house and went to his room. Mikey knows now that his nanny was tricking him, and Davina said that it was not a trick, that she was judging him based on what he found inside his room. Davina was worried earlier because the kid handled the kidnapping a little too well, and the god thing Mikey can still act like one. Mikey told his nanny that his room was a little messy because they had only been a few weeks in the house. Davina said that it was fine. Mikey was quite a few shy because some of his things were from their old house and it was baby stuff. And Davina said that she likes baby stuff though, but it seems Mikey doesn't want to show what is inside, so Davina told the kid that if he doesn't want to show it was really okay for her, and Mikey said that he didn't care, it was just a room. When Davina was inside, she saw some chocolate milk habit that appears to be out of control, more suits than a pallbearer, and a creative outlet for underlying issues. She was thinking and recommending less sugar, play clothes, and dedicated art time. Mikey said to his nanny that he didn't finish unpacking yet, and they were not staying long. Davina was asking how long enough to pick up all the milk boxes, and Mikey answered that their new housekeeper doesn't like him. Davina was playing him again and said that who wouldn't like him and that he was a great kid. Mikey got annoyed and told Davina that he doesn't want a new mama, and Davina answered him that no one will ever replace his mother and she's not there to try, but she was there to care for him. She told Mikey that she can be close or as far as he needed her, but the kid backstabbed her and said just to do her job as a nanny. Mikey told Davina to find his daddy, and actively Davina ran outside the room and knocked Mr. Angelini in his office. She told Mr. Angelini that his son has changed, and doesn't seem scary for an underboss, and also said that she left Mikey in his room asking if it was alright. Gabriel answered that Davina can leave Mikey for a short period, as long as he is in the house. And suddenly Davina said that she will cut the heart of it and by all means, asking that whoever murdered the mother of the child are also a threat to Mikey too. Mr. Angelini answered without a doubt, since his uncle, the Don, had named Mikey as heir to the syndicate. Then Davina guessed that her assignment was outside the purview of her contract. The application failed to mention active threats against the family. Thinking that Mr. Angelini didn't read the fine print, so she has the leverage she needs. Gabriel said to her that she learned defensive combat, and asking what's the problem with it, Davina answered that she was a new graduate and should Mr. Angelini had hired a senior operator. Mr. Angelini came closer to her and said that he hired exactly who he meant to. Davina was shocked and was thinking, does Mr. Angelini knew about her past and she was there to find answers. Mr. Angelini said that he won't settle for anyone else and make Davina's demand. He said that since Davina didn't realize that her assignment was more dangerous that she signed on for, asking Davina what would it take for her to stay. Davina was going to make demands, but now it seems like she is playing into Gabriel's hand. Gabriel offered her a house in Majorca or a political favor, and Davina said that none of those has any use if she dies on the assignment or disappears conveniently afterward. Thinking about why Mr. Angelini so determined to make her stay. So she decided that she wants complete access to Mr. Angelini's entire life, and said if she is going to protect Mikey she needs to be the closest person to them both. But Mr. Angelini answered her if she was thinking that he would be impressed with her selfless work ethic. She was angry and said that she wanted to survive the assignment, which means having those tools to do the right way. But Mr. Angelini has some things that can't give access to, like business accounts and client data. Davina said that she has no interest in his business, and won't look at anything she doesn't need to. Mr. Angelini was asking again what does Davina really want, and what's in it for. Davina said that she does have more personal requests. She wants a guaranteed good review. She will put her life on the line for the child, if Gabriel will give her full marks when her one-year contract is over, and would become an angel-level patron of ENA. A solid bluff ENA can always use more wealthy patrons. Mr. Angelini said that it is very well that in 1 year when it is the time to leave Lion, he will sign any recommendations Davina writes. If, however, any harm were to befall his son, Davina would wish she would die protecting the child. Davina got nervous of what Gabriel said to her. Now she was thinking that Mr. Angelini meant it, and those eyes said it all, that man would kill her slowly. The good thing was an elite nanny never fails. Adam was helping her carry all her bags, and took those upstairs and told Davina to have a look around the house, because it was home for the next year, unless something goes horribly wrong. Davina was looking at him and said into his mind that she can't tell if Adam was rooting for her or against her. While she was roaming around she was saying that she liked the small palace because it was so fancy. Then she saw the guard he fought in the kidnapping scene, looking at her so angry. When she was outside she saw 10-foot walls, topped with wire, glowering guards, fussy fountains that were not exactly a young boy's playground. She was thinking that she had to take Mikey to the park or something else. She went into her room and remembered that she needed to charge her laptop, but when she opened the bag the laptop was not there. Then suddenly she remembered that she left it in the car. She looked outside the window to see the car, but the car was gone already, and thought that Adam was having it detailed. Mr. Angelini came to her room to ask her if she were coming for dinner, because Signora Conti was cooking before it left on weeknights. She told Gabriel about her laptop and Gabriel said that he will remind Adam when it gets back with the car. She was asking if she could take Mikey downstairs, but Mr. Angelini said not to bother it cause Mikey was elected to eat in his room for the night. She was asking again if it happens often. Gabriel answered yes. Davina was saying that Mikey was having a lot of changes recently, and Mr. Angelini got annoyed and told him that he don't need her one-day diagnosis, because he knows his son and doesn't need to explain his feelings to him. Told Davina to worry about the safety of the child and nothing more. The two of them were eating dinner, and Davina asked Gabriel what brought him to Lyon. Mr. Angelini answered that it was business, and Davina was asking again what Venetian underboss doing in Lyon, cause they don't have claim in the place and the local crime families can't be happy. Davina was imagining that the man in his position had made some waves in the city. She was thinking that Mr. Angelini doesn't know that he is putting Mikey at risk. While they were talking, she suddenly asked Mr. Angelini if what he has any goals for Mikey in a year. Anything he doesn't Davina to work for the child, like language or arts and sports. Mr. Angelini was hesitating to answer it and just say that he will think about it, because as an Angelini heir, Mikey had certain expectations to live up to. Then the maid entered the dining area, bringing food for them. Davina was thinking that the whole house was odd, the staff were like ghosts, she saw them around the house, but she only met the driver. And why she is the only one eating with the boss, maybe because it's her first night, an empty gesture of welcome, and she will just play along. She was asking another question again about Mikey's due during the daytime, and Mr. Angelini answered that he takes Mikey within work. Gabriel was annoyed again with Davina and told the maid to give them a moment for talking, and Gabriel said to Davina to come with him outside and not to mention another word. Mr. Angelini pulled her in. Davina was apologizing to Mr. Angelini for speaking out of turn with some other staff in the house. And Mr. Angelini said that there is nothing to apologize for, and he was shouting out loud in the face of Davina, and said to be scared with him. And suddenly told Davina to listen, and he has a goal for Mikey, and he has one. He was trying to say something, but Antony the guard called him and said that there was trouble in District 3. He left Davina and said that they will continue it later. Davina was thinking now on what Gabriel was going to say and what was his goal, and why is he afraid of anyone else hearing it.